Hi,
Hi, it's Saira,
and Jena.
and I am a transpersonal psychotherapist,
And I am a couples counselor.
and we are here to talk to you today about the pitfalls of goal setting.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, you didn't think that could happen, right? You thought goal setting was a good thing, and you should set goals, right?
Totally, everyone should set goals.
Like,
But you gotta do it the right way.
the right way, because there's so many wrong ways to set goals. We've done some of those.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
I would say until about 3 months ago, I always set goals the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the number one thing that I did wrong
Mm-hmm.
is that I set goals, but then I didn't do the work, the mental work, to believe that I could actually achieve them.
Exactly.
So I was setting all these goals and I'm like, oh, great, yeah, I'm setting a goal. And so I had these big lofty plans, like making, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month off the bat with like no real plan in place for how I was going to do it.
Like, I'm just going to attract that.
Yeah.
Attract
Exactly.
$100,000. Just attract. If I think happy thoughts, I will fly. Let me just keep thinking happy. But there's books and there's a whole movement around that, right? Like you just think happy thoughts and you'll get what you want.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to it than just thinking happy thoughts because you can't think the happy thought one day and not keep it going every day. So what I do, I'm just jumping the gun, jumping right into it.
Jump in.
What I do is I set a goal and every single day I write out my life as if that goal has already happened. So in that way, and I spend like an hour doing this a day. This is my work. So in that way, every day I'm reminding myself of exactly what my outcome is going to be, right? And so my actions are always moving towards that goal. But when we're setting a goal, we got to make sure it's the right goal, don't we?
Because sometimes we set goals thinking, when I get this thing, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that so many times with my clients. They'll say, okay, when I find the man of my dreams, I'll be happy. Or the woman of my dreams. When I make this amount of money from my job, I'll be happy. Or when I, graduate from this course. Or when I have children. Or when I move into this new house. Like, there's always some connection between the goal and happiness. And that, I think, is a huge pitfall. Like it's a flawed way of thinking, because what we're doing is we're putting happiness out there somewhere and saying, okay, I have to have that thing in order for me to have happiness. There's a story that I sometimes tell at my workshops around graduation. So I have my PhD. And I remember, as a little girl, I really wanted to, get to the highest possible level of education. I was so excited. This was a goal. And I thought, when I have my PhD, I'm going to be happy. And I remember walking across the stage. And you have to kind of bend down and they put this hood on you, right? It's very serious, very solemn, and the ceremony. They did the ceremony, and Jena, I felt nothing. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel proud of myself. I didn't feel anything. And all of these years I'd been hoping that moment would be the moment.
That was the moment that was going to solve your problems and save your life.
It didn't. And that moment didn't happen on my wedding day, and that moment didn't happen when I had my first baby, and that moment didn't happen when I bought my house, and that moment... it's like that moment didn't happen with some goal that was reached. That moment was more like a space I had to cultivate inside me and a lens through which I had to start seeing the world. I had to start seeing the world through the lens of life is good.
Because happiness is not an achievement. It's something that you inject into your life every single day in as many ways as possible.
Right. And even happiness in itself is an emotion. So you can have happiness, you can also have sadness, you can also have anger, you can also have grief and fear. So if we're just going for an emotion, well, you can't sustain that forever.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're going for a way of looking at the world is a safe place, the world is a kind place. I can have what I want from this world.
That's the thing, right? Because there's happiness. And for me, my happy place is when I believe in myself. So that's when I feel the happiest. Doesn't matter what else is going on in my life. But when I look to myself and I say, okay, this is what I want out of my life, and I believe that I can have it, and I believe it right now, that I am that person that I aspire to be, that's when I feel good, right? Yeah. And so figuring out what that is for you, what's that space that makes you feel really good? Maybe it's when you're with your kids. Like maybe it's the identity of a certain thing that you do in your life really well.
Yeah. And so today is your day to set a goal.
Set a goal.
Last week we talked about how it was your day to start. And it's really exciting when you start. Because I'm going to do all this stuff. And then, but how am I... What am I exactly gonna I'm inspired, I'm gonna get started, but now what?
Exactly.
And so we thought today we'd talk about setting a goal. And it's, different people set goals in different ways. Some of us make a plan with very, very detailed timelines and objectives. Right? Like I write it down. I'm like, okay, so a year from now, how's it going to look? 6 months from now, 3 months, like what do I need to do to achieve that? Like who do I need to enlist? Or what do I need? That's my style. Jena has a different style.
I set a goal and I'm like, okay, by next week, I'm going to be rich and famous. So that's my goal. It's going to happen. So just deal with it and I'll figure it out.
Just do it. Just fly by the seat and build the plane as we fly it. And both ways work. Right?
They both work. It depends on your personality.
Exactly. But the thing is, you have to have a way. Because just to say that you want something without having some sort of a clear understanding of what it is you want, then it just continues to be this nebulous idea of like, oh, one day I'll feel good about my life.
Because a lot of us set goals based on other people's expectations.
Oh my gosh,
if you see someone who's doing a certain thing and they seem like they have it all together, you might think, okay, well, I have to do that certain thing so that I have it all together too. Right? So that's why a lot of people go into professions that they're not really that excited about. Well, my cousin's a lawyer and she's making a ton of money and everyone really looks up to her. So I'm going to become a lawyer too because that sounds great. Like I would love to be looked up to.
Sometimes it's even from like things on television.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like I had a client once who's like, well, on Suits, right? The lawyers seem to have so much fun. And I said, maybe you want to actually talk to a real lawyer because I think there's a lot more paperwork involved in the show.
Yeah, it's not just like hanging out looking fantastic.
I know, right? Like in your suit. It's not just that, right? There's more that goes into it. And I remember in high school, they would always encourage us to do job shadowing, to actually spend some time with a person who's living the life you want. And I think that's a great idea for us as adults, is spend time around people who have the life that you want.
Yeah.
Because then those 5 people around you who influence you start to change, right? It starts to change who you are. And the people around you are also goal setters, and they're actually moving in a direction. They're not just in the hamster wheel, like most of the people in our environment. Everybody's on this hamster wheel and they're just like doing the same old thing and the same old thing and they're not moving forward.
Trying to get somewhere, but they're not really getting
anywhere. And they're unhappy and they're stressed and they're, right, all of this stuff. And it's like, well, what if you could be around creative thinkers, people who wanted more, people who found meaning in service, for example. Like there's a whole other realm of how you could be in this world. My son, who Jena can't even believe it, but he just had a birthday party. And he turned 7. And his idea was that for this birthday party, rather than presents, whatever people would spend on presents or cards, they should just give to him towards a fundraising campaign that he's doing to save the earth, right? So he's an earth ranger.
He's saving the earth at 7. He's like, no thanks, don't get me any cool presents. I don't need superhero stuff. Just save these, what is saltwater? Cold water coral, yeah. Save the cold water coral. Don't do me any favors. Do them some favors.
Right? But what he did was he set a goal. As part of the program, they can set a goal, $5, $35, $100. And he went for the $500 goal and he had a month to achieve it and he achieved it in 20 days. Right? Because he had a goal and he knew what his goal was and he knew how much time he had.
He believed in himself.
He believed he's 7.
In himself so much that he did the actions necessary to reach that goal.
Right. And so he had little
out there.
Facebook videos of himself talking about cold water coral, right? And if a 7-year-old can do it,
we can do it.
We can really do it. All of us can do this. We can do it.
So when you're setting a goal, right? When you're setting a goal, what I found to be the most important thing is to really think about what you would want to do in your life and achieve if you had 0 limitations on you. So if you believed in yourself fully, if you weren't always saying, oh, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough this, I don't have enough support. If you had enough of absolutely everything that you needed, what would you do? It's even if it's just a fun exercise that you do today, really let yourself think about who you would be if you could be anyone that you wanted. If you could reach, I guess it wouldn't be anyone that you want, but if you could have any of the qualities that you really wanted, and if you could achieve anything that you set your mind to, what the heck would you be doing?
And no limits, right?
No limits.
It's so easy to identify the limits. Like you said, time, money, support, resources. There's all of these. It's so interesting. Once we stopped complaining, me and my husband, once we stopped complaining about having enough money, and then we started complaining about having enough time. Yeah. So we have enough money to do whatever we want, but now we don't have enough time to do whatever we want. And that's yet another complaint. That's a limitation. And so we're starting to think about, okay, well, if we had more than enough time, what would that look like? And what would we do with that time? Would we sit and watch Netflix?
Maybe. Probably not.
Maybe every second Sunday for a binge-a-thon.
Yes. You need those.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
But maybe not 2 hours a night. Right? Maybe I'd actually read some of those books I've been wanting to read or sit and talk about our day or whatever, right? So people say, oh, I don't have enough time. But you actually do. You have more time than you think. And you say, I don't have enough money. Well, you actually do. You're just spending it on things that maybe you are wasting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had enough time, if you had enough money, if you had enough support, if you had babysitters and you had this and you had that, you had everything that you needed, what would you be doing, right? So that's a way to set the goal. Now, what are some of the pitfalls that we've talked about so far?
Oh, there's some pitfalls. So one of them is actually getting so focused on the next step and the next step and the next step that you forget the goal.
Right.
Right? So it's getting too caught up in the details and too caught up in the planning of the next thing. Because what we know from, the law of attraction, for example, is that if you keep your eye on the end goal, sometimes life will provide you an opportunity to bypass some of those steps.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking like, okay, I just need to do this one next thing, and then I'll move on to this next thing, you might miss opportunities in between. So the idea is to keep your focus on the final outcome rather than just what's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
And it's a daily practice, honestly. And I can give you an example from my own life. And this is like after learning about the law of attraction, after like trying to practice it for a long time, I realized that I was taking all these steps in my online business. I was like, okay, I took this program. I'm like, okay, I have to have my opt-in page. I have to make sure my website's all good. I have to do my courses. Like I have to create things and I have to do this and I have to do that. And I was so caught up in creating this online business that I forgot that I don't really want an online business. Oops. Right? I was like, I want it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like other people have this and they're successful, so maybe I should try it too.
Yes. So I was so busy all the time doing things that were not getting me towards the goal that I really wanted to achieve.
Right. Oops.
Total brain
so
fart.
And when that happens, so here's the other thing with goal setting is when you have an oops and you're like, oh, oops, that was totally a different track and not my intention. It's about realigning and just getting back on track.
Giving yourself permission and saying it's okay to mess
up.
Because the truth is, yeah, you messed up, but you realized it eventually.
Yeah, and you turn around. Like, I have the worst sense of directions. Anybody who knows me, my gift for my 25th birthday party was a GPS. Like, before GPSs were a common thing. Yeah, that's how bad I am. Like, my family got together and bought me a GPS.
That's pretty bad.
Her name was Garmin. I loved her. She was amazing. Thank you, Garmin. So what would happen is I'd be driving in the wrong direction all the time, and then I'd realize at some point I was driving in the wrong direction, and I would just turn around. Mm-hmm. Right? And it infuriated my stepdad because he's like, Saira, you've been on this road 100 times, but it's just one of those things. And I have learned over the years to not beat myself up for my one flaw. I'm sure my husband will tell you I have other flaws. No, I have other flaws.
There's just the one.
Just the one, which is I'm so directionally challenged. But the good thing that I've learned from it is like, when you miss the exit, just get off at the next exit, turn around, and then you'll be all right. Yeah. There's no need to like turn around, pull over on the side of the road and like beat yourself up for like messing up. No, it's all right. Just turn around, get back on the right road, you'll be all right.
And the truth is, in your detour, you probably learned some valuable lessons. I got lost on my way to Saira's house last time I was coming here. And this time, I knew exactly where I was going because I had been lost. So I knew exactly how to navigate right back to where I wanted to be.
And that's just like your business or your relationship issues or whatever. Is that sometimes those errors are great learning opportunities. Yeah. And you can see them as an opportunity to feel bad. That, I did this thing again. I should know better. Or, okay, so how can I do it differently next time?
Mm-hmm. And when you're setting a goal, oftentimes it's very easy to get sucked into the whole like stress model of living, like where you're constantly stress. I have to achieve this goal. And a lot of people, we saw a talk about it actually, a lot of people can view that stress as being a really negative thing. Oh, I don't want stress in my life. Stress is a killer. I'm not going to go for this because it's too hard and it's going to be too stressful. So I'm going to take the easy way out and I'm just going to sit back and hope that one day I feel good about my life.
And those hundreds of millions of dollars just drop into my lap and the love of my life just shows up at my door while I'm sitting in my sweatpants.
Yeah, that happens, right?
Not really. So here's the thing we learned about stress. In the study that they did, there's some scientific background. You can watch the TED Talk about it if you want. But there were some studies that they did that found out that what kills people is not necessarily stressors, but how people believe stress is affecting them.
Yes.
It's amazing. Like, blood vessels actually changed in the people who believed that stress was a supportive thing in their body.
So when their body feels stress, all that's telling them is that, oh, my body's preparing me for this challenge, right? It's preparing me. And it's the same thing. Like if you've ever felt a fear of public speaking and you get that like anxiety and your heart starts to pump
every time,
you're sweating, you can either say to yourself, I'm so nervous that I'm just going to like run away right this second because I really can't handle this. Or you can tell yourself, that's not nerves, that's excitement.
And in the body, the physiology of nervousness and excitement is exactly the same.
Yes.
The only difference is the way that your blood vessels process, like how quickly blood is flowing through. And so when you're actually interpreting that stress as excitement or anticipation, all of a sudden you have courage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So every single time I go up in front of an audience, every time, whether it's somebody's wedding and I'm giving a speech, whether it's in front of like, you know, at my faith community where I'm getting up, like every time I have this huge pounding in my chest and like my head's like wah, wah, boom, boom, wah, wah. And the way I interpret that is like, okay, I'm open for other information. Like I've got my speech prepared, but I'm open to the moment to see what else is going to come through.
Wow.
Right. And that's how I interpret that. And so I always feel great after. Mm-hmm. And I've never frozen on stage, like in all my years of speaking.
That's amazing. And it's just because of your mindset. Like
and I didn't even know that until we watched the TED Talk.
Oh,
now
wow.
I understand. Now I understand why it works. But
yeah.
I didn't know why.
So basically, in any situation that happens that's a little bit scary, you can either tell yourself, this is too much for me and I can't handle it and I'm nervous and that's not a good thing, so I'm just going to run away. Or you can tell yourself, my body is preparing me for this challenge. Mm-hmm. I can totally do it. And I'm open to any information that comes along, right? I'm open to other things.
Exactly.
And in that way, you build courage, because courage is not something that you either have or you don't have. You can train yourself to be courageous and to take risks and to take that next step towards that goal that at one point seemed totally impossible because you didn't have time and you didn't have money and you didn't have resources. And now you realize that it's totally possible because you've just decided that it's going to happen and you figure it out.
You figure it out. And what I find too is once I set a goal, all of a sudden, I start noticing things in my environment that are going to support me in achieving that goal.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the brain gets primed to looking for things that are going to support you. If you don't have a goal, it's like you're just on the hamster wheel.
And also, when you don't have a goal, your brain starts to anticipate threats everywhere, right? Because that's what our brain is built to do. Yeah. It anticipates threats.
Right.
So if you don't have a goal, then suddenly you find yourself really caught up in family drama or in whatever, you know.
It's a great place to get distracted.
Oh
my gosh.
Wonderful place.
And as soon as you start like stepping towards your goal and kind of moving,
the drama comes up.
The drama will come up. And that's another thing about goal setting is it reminds you to get, where do I need to refocus here? Is this just a distraction and my ego's way of keeping me small? And so maybe I just don't engage in that drama right now and maybe I get back to my goal.
Yeah, because once you start to actually make progress, things start to happen, right? Like once you move, it's kind of like you're moving up a ladder. And the further up you go, you might start to realize that other people in your life are still down here and they're not moving along with you. So you have to decide at that point in time, am I going to fall back down so that I feel more comfortable because this is hard? And, you know, it's hard because the people around me aren't supporting me or whatever, or maybe I feel bad that they're down here and I'm up here. Or am I going to say to you, come join me. I'm up here.
Right.
Come join me and we can move up together.
And, you know, it may take them months or even years to be ready to join us.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's the hard part about moving on with the life that you want is that there will be people that are left behind, right? And leadership is sometimes lonely.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's lonely because you're the one who's doing all those things that you said you were going to do, and everybody around you is still caught in making excuses. And you can see that, and you want them to have a better life, but they're just not ready. And so sometimes I have had to make the decision of, okay, do I want to invest my energy and attention in helping everybody around me step up the ladder, or do I need to spend my energy and attention at this point continuing to climb and being that role model for people? Right? And if they're uncomfortable with that, if they're unhappy about that, then that's their stuff. Like, you can't be responsible for their responses to your success.
Yeah.
It's just not okay.
But you are responsible for your responses to their responses.
Yeah, right. So anything inside of you, your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors, which is kind of like actions, your feelings, your body stuff, that's on you. That's on you. What you put in your mouth, what you eat, how long you sleep. Like, that's all on you.
And what comes out of your mouth.
What comes out of what comes out of your mouth and what comes out of your eyes. My husband always says, like, I have a very expressive face. So when I'm in a bad mood, like, I do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've got to learn to contain that, right? Because that's my responsibility. What other people do around me, that's their responsibility.
Totally.
Right? And I can feel bad or guilty, right? But I mean, I'm choosing that then. I'm choosing to feel bad and guilty rather than seeing what they're doing as an expression of their own whatever needs, which I may or may not be able to respond to.
And you know, it was interesting what you were saying about feeling lonely as you're climbing that ladder, because it can be a really lonely climb, but eventually you start to realize that you're attracting your tribe, right? So you're attracting all these people that are supporting you, believing in you, who you support and you believe in also. And so suddenly, even though you may have been lonely coming up the ladder, when you get to the top, you have all these people that are right there, like waiting to engage with you, waiting to be there with you, waiting to, you know, express themselves with you.
Right. And sometimes it means that when we set goals and when we move towards those goals and when we achieve those goals, that certain people in our lives drift away.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like we're not matched anymore. We're talking about different things. We have different priorities, different interests. And they're in a place that we used to be and we're no longer there. And so to be willing to let go of those relationships that are no longer serving either of you.
Exactly.
And that's hard, right?
It's hard.
There's a grieving process to that sometimes too, especially when they're family or somebody close to you that's, you know, not really matching you anymore.
So far today, we've talked about goal setting in a way that you need to remove your limitations in order to see what your goal truly is, because you can create a lot of goals, but if they're not the right goal, if they're not the goal that you're passionate about, that you like really, really, really want more than you wanted anything in your life, then it's kind of a waste, right?
It's kind of a waste of your time.
Yeah, exactly.
You never wanted that. Other people wanted that.
Yes,
not you. Yeah.
Yes. So remove your limitations and see what you would do and who you would be if you could do and be absolutely anything in the world.
Right. And when you go off track, it's okay. Just forgive yourself, get back on track, say oops, and move on.
Right? And think about your goal every single day.
Every
single day, you need to be thinking about what is this goal that you want. And don't think about the how am I going to get there, or, you know, it's really impractical, or it doesn't make sense, or it's not realistic. Just think about the goal and imagine yourself achieving that goal. Because the more you can imagine yourself achieving that goal, the more you're going to believe that that goal is possible. And when you believe something is possible, you're going to do whatever it takes to get there.
That's right.
Right? It's not going to be a choice anymore. It's going to be a done deal. You're just getting there.
Right.
It's done in your mind. You just have to get there physically.
Right. So that's kind of the pitfalls of goal setting and some tips to get through as you step towards the life that you're always meant to live. So today is your day to set your goals.
Yeah. And we would love for you to comment below this video on, you know, the goals that you set or the realizations that you had through watching this. And
share and like and subscribe. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.